Hi, I'm Gabe.
I'm Kelley.
And I'm Jaime.
Hey, Jaime, guess what this is?
What
You don't
is-
know. I didn't tell you.
No.
This is episode 100.
Woohoo! We made it to 100.
Yes.
Yay.
Yay.
Welcome to 2018.
There are more episodes of The Morning After than there are representatives in the House.
Yes.
By one.
Yes. I'm really proud of this. 100
Yes.
episodes. Pretty cool.
It is very cool. Yay.
It would have been cool to know before we started recording.
We needed like party hats or something. I probably had something left over from New Year's.
I'm sure we do.
Go get some party hats.
I'll just make you wear a Christmas stocking on your head. You get the penguin.
Okay. No, we started this project a little over 2 years ago, and haven't stopped yet. So, I think this
People are still listening, surprisingly or not.
You're relentless.
Yes.
It's a good thing for us to be.
Yeah. So,
I mean, everybody should spend 20 to 45 minutes a week just talking about shit that annoys the crap out of them. I mean, it's very therapeutic.
it actually is. It totally is.
Are you allowed to say that on the radio?
Yes.
You can tell shit?
No. Well, I'm gonna have to bleep that, but but that brings up a point. Since we started our podcast, we are now a radio show, so people in Columbus can listen Friday mornings at 9:00 on WGRN. It's 94.1, 94.7. I need to look. I think it's 94.1.
Oops. I'm sure you've made good friends with the radio station.
We're very thrilled to be a part of their programming. We are. But this has been a very good endeavor that we've taken on here in the office. So I'm happy that we're continuing to make these shows.
Yay.
It gives us a once a week chance to look at our elected officials and
what's going on in the world around
what
us.
on earth they're thinking. So
yes,
every week, just
yeah, that's pretty much what it is. It's a once a week sigh. So
welcome to Friday Sighs.
we could change it to that. Yeah.
Friday size with NARAL pro-choice Ohio.
Yeah. So this week, what do you think about
More like Sigh Day.
Not too bad.
Sorry.
I like it. What do you think about the Cheeto this week?
I don't know. I try not to think about the Cheeto.
Yeah.
You say Cheetos, and I'm like, Flamin' Hot Cheetos are all right. I like the fluffy ones versus the crunchy ones. So those are harder to find.
No, I'm talking about the fat.
I mean, you
Cheeto.
can eat them with chopsticks, so you don't get like Cheeto dust all over your hands and stuff.
That's interesting.
I think he means a Cheeto in the White House.
Yeah.
Or at Mar-a-Lago or on a golf course more frequently than at the White House, but whatever.
Yeah. So we've been looking at the news the past couple of days and seeing that there's a hotly anticipated upcoming book.
Actually, it's not hotly anticipated anymore. They actually released it this morning 4 days early because Trump sent them a cease and desist order, which I find hilarious.
But that doesn't mean that the books will actually arrive any earlier because
Yes.
shipping is shipping.
I've heard there's already people like camped out at bookstores in line waiting for this thing to arrive in print.
I mean, it's hilarious because Trump wants to like destroy the author who wrote it, and all Trump did was put millions and millions and millions of dollars into his pocket.
Right. Yeah, and this
Streisand effect.
love the Streisand effect. Google that. It does kind of raise the question in my mind of they're obviously, by criticizing the book, drawing more attention to the book. Is this a strategy by the Trump administration just to sort of continue this obnoxious, the left hates Trump sort of mythology that they're going to use as a campaign pivot of like, oh, these people and their books and their writing and words,
their books, their words.
They just don't like Trump, but us good middle American folk.
Is Donald Trump that intelligent? And that's the question that I don't know the answer to.
I don't think anybody does.
I was like, is he this dumb or is he much smarter than we're like? I can't.
Right.
It's the Poe. He's a Poe.
Yeah. Well, he also has a bigger button.
Yes. capital B button.
much smaller button, but
Connie Schultz wrote a great piece on the button. We'll put a link to that in our show notes. And just looking at the Trump versus Kim Jong-un nuclear standoff.
Sorry, what was that word?
Nuclear.
There we go.
Sorry. the standoff with Rocket Man. And,
Rocket Man.
She was asking if we had a woman in office. Would this really be going on? Is there going to be a my button's bigger than yours is
nuclear war?
No, what we'd have is, man, my period makes me want to press the button.
Well, that's what a lot of people were afraid of, and that's why they wouldn't vote for.
But the menopause.
Nah. But yeah, so I mean, I just don't know. Like, there's really no words. I'm out of words to describe how I feel about these things, because it's just ridiculous and over the top and stupid and reckless. And actually, I have lots of words. When I start going, I have lots of words. But I mean,
adjectives are fun.
There are a few. I mean, not a lot. I mean, if Trump says launch a nuclear weapon, military chain of command says you launch said nuclear weapon if codes match and all those things happen.
Right.
So there are some fail safes, but not a huge amount of fail safes. But like, I really do believe there's a button on Kim Jong-un's desk that can launch something.
Apparently,
probably not a nuclear weapon, because like I'm not exactly sure they have exactly that capability quite yet. I think they're still working on that.
Right.
But like, he can do a lot of damage with conventional weapons. He can shoot far. So like, are we really just egging on this guy? I mean, it really is those big bullies that were in high school. Like, well, I'm better than you. Nuh-uh, not me.
Right. Apparently there's a button on Trump's desk and it orders a Diet Coke.
That would be more likely to be the button on Trump's desk.
But I think the much more important question there is, if Trump says, hey, let's nuke these guys, is the Secretary of Defense going to step in and say, no, we can't do that, and override the president's orders? I mean, obviously you would expect that he would try and talk him down, probably present some other alternatives. This is like the situation in Afghanistan when Trump first took office, where we dropped the biggest bomb ever. And, there wasn't really an explanation of why we needed to or what we actually hit. It was just the biggest bomb ever exploded. That wasn't a nuke, just got used. That was clearly a, hey, Mr. President, we have a big toy for you. I would assume if Trump says, yes, let's use nukes, that the Secretary of Defense would step in and be like, well, shiny, we've got this other little toy for you over here. Let's focus on that instead of what you just asked for. But, shouldn't Congress at that point, when it becomes a situation where we're relying on a Secretary of Defense to distract the president from what he's just asked for, isn't this the point where we use the 25th Amendment and say, hey, this guy doesn't have the faculties necessary to do this job? When we're relying on kind of a military coup.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a military coup at that point. Because, I mean, if Donald Trump says launch the nuclear weapon, he is the commander-in-chief of the armed services. Anyone who doesn't immediately follow out on that order is being treasonous at that point.
And the obvious problem here that sane people recognize, Rob Portman isn't saying anything about this. And I was looking back, Sherrod Brown used to criticize President Obama. He had disagreements with him on trade. There was things that came up where, Obama said this and Sherrod said that, and they had, a discussion. And sometimes between the senator's office and the White House, it was a little bit, no, we want this, it was a little bit heated. This was over trade, something that, is fine to talk about. Rob Portman can't even say, what the hell are you doing? You're antagonizing somebody with nuclear. Sorry. Jeez.
The death stare.
Why isn't Rob Portman saying anything in this horribly dangerous situation?
Well, there's two options. Either he's a coward or he endorses it.
Right.
Mhm.
That's what
So-
we're looking at.
Yeah.
And he really shouldn't be a coward because he has quite a few years before he's up for re-election since he was just reelected. So I'm going to go with he endorses it.
Right.
I mean, none of them really said anything. I think Mitch McConnell was scheduled to do a press conference yesterday, but I haven't heard anything about anything. So I don't know that he spoke out against the ridiculousness that's currently happening.
Team Mitch put out a tweet of him grinning like an idiot when Trump and Bannon went after each other. And I'm like, if your social media team can get on it because Steve Bannon has said something you don't like, why can't they do something in the face of nuclear war? What are you people doing?
I mean, can Donald Trump destroy these Republicans' careers if they oppose him?
I think it depends on if his base really is the Republican base or if people are sick of it. I mean, that really is the question.
Right.
So, like, for these Republicans to speak out against the president, they alienate their base that supports them, but then gain our support. But they're not going to actually have our support when it comes to elections because we're not going to vote for Republicans anyway.
No.
Right. Because we've seen their cowardice.
Mhm.
And we disagree with all the policies. But
Well, yeah, mostly that.
Mostly that.
Yeah.
So they don't have anything to gain by speaking out against the president
right.
necessarily.
Except their own backbone and
I mean, yeah,
credibility
moral
and
turpitude
integrity
integrity.
and-
Yeah, there's nothing to gain, Jamie. That's already been addressed.
Right.
Well, then maybe they don't even have it, so there's nothing to gain there either.
Yeah,
so
there you go.
Whatever.
Okay.
So that's the state of our federal government.
Right.
Such that it is.
I can't think about it too long. It makes me anxious. I need to
Yeah.
have my meds.
Yeah, I mean, there's still crap going over in Iran too, and all these other things, and we're gonna, So,
Right. But speaking of Republican policies, here in Ohio, we've got our own set of, our own agenda that we're fighting against. Right before we all left for a Christmas vacation, John Kasich did sign into law House Bill 214. So Ohio's latest abortion ban, has the potential power to charge every abortion provider in the state with a 4th-degree felony based on thoughts in women's heads who seek care in their office. So
yeah, the lawyers are still looking at it. We'll let folks know as soon as we hear anything on potential lawsuits and that kind of stuff. It does have 90 days before it goes into effect. It doesn't immediately go into effect. So there's some time here to think about it and plot strategy and those kinds of things. So the effective date is sometime in late March, depending on when it officially got filed and everything else with the holidays and everything. So,
right.
So we've got some time.
And what we've got is a terrific set of language, the decision from the state of Indiana. I know we've talked about it a little bit before. Very clear language from a federal judge in the state of Indiana saying, no, this is blatantly unconstitutional. There's nothing in this bill that a court could use to support it. It absolutely goes against, the principles of Roe versus Wade, Planned Parenthood versus Casey, Whole Women's Health versus Hellerstedt. We've got ample language from the U.S. Supreme Court upholding the right to safe and legal abortion care.
Yeah.
This, the Indiana bill cannot stand.
Yeah.
So we've got this great decision, which should help here in Ohio.
I still think it's weird that we in Indiana are in 2 different court districts.
Yeah, it's really strange.
I didn't draw the lines.
Yeah, it's a very weird, very skinny, narrow little line because Ohio and Tennessee are, but Ohio and Indiana aren't.
Right.
We get grouped with that state up north.
That state up north, which couldn't beat your football team.
But you cheered for them anyway.
I cheered for the conference. I wanted a Big Ten undefeated bowl season.
Sure, okay.
But you're Gamecocks.
Go Cox! Can I say that on the radio?
Yeah, sure. South Carolina.
I can't get it on my license plate.
No, that would not be allowed.
I know, I tried.
I mean, people's heads would explode if they saw an Ohio license plate with Go Cox on it and knew that it was for your
It'd be hilarious.
Football
There's a lot
team.
of Carolina alumni in the area in Columbus.
I would expect there's more Ohio State alumni in South Carolina because
Yeah.
the weather's nicer.
Most definitely.
Charleston, South Carolina has stickers that say "Go home, Ohio."
I don't doubt it. It is very lovely. Other than the politics of the state, every time.
Oh yeah,
because
because Ohio's so much better. Gabe.
I know. I mean, the politics are almost equivalent, and the weather is way better. I think.
What the hell are we doing here?
I don't know. I mean, I came back from my Florida vacation. I don't know what
I'm
the
here
hell
because
I
at least
did.
there's a fighting chance in the legislature.
You know what? That's a true statement.
That's true. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So House Bill 214 signed into law. We're done fighting that in the State House. What we're still fighting in the State House. Upcoming next is Senate Bill 28.
Yeah. So longtime listeners will know.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I've heard this one before. So it's one of two bills this session, very similar to 3 bills from last session, restricting the ability and ways that abortion clinics can dispose of fetal tissue following an abortion procedure. Again, all coming out of those ridiculous, completely false, created videos about alleging that Planned Parenthood and other providers had done illegal things with fetal tissue, which they have not done.
I don't understand this point of this idea that Planned Parenthood could ever get away with anything illegal.
Yeah.
With the scrutiny they're under, how could they have ever actually have managed to do that?
Right.
Even if they wanted to.
When you're getting inspected every 15 minutes.
Yeah.
The state knows everything going on.
Well, I mean, they firmly believe, and it's kind of along that same fake news, how much do you just blindly follow Donald Trump kind of thing. They firmly believe, because people tell them, that Planned Parenthood is in bed with all of these state officials everywhere,
Hanging
and
out
that they're just looking the other way. Yeah, I mean, we hear that even in Ohio with ODH. Well, they're just letting these clinics get away with things. Are you freaking kidding me? What world do you live in?
Right.
So they do firmly believe that, and they believe these videos were completely truthful and showed that they were breaking the law and all these things.
Breaking the law.
Yes. Where in all reality, we know that clinics are being inspected every 15 minutes and can't get away with, anything.
Right. There is a clear political agenda of Kasich using the State Department of Health against all the abortion clinics in Ohio, especially Planned Parenthood.
Yes. So we've got these bills that are regulating something that doesn't need to be regulated. I mean, in fact, again, if you've been listening for a long time, we've talked about this before too, is that Channel 10 here in Columbus, the CBS network, actually did an investigation after Attorney General Mike DeWine did his whole fake Planned Parenthood conspiracy investigation thing that he did that found that Planned Parenthood didn't do anything wrong. Channel 10 actually found that the way that Planned Parenthood was disposing of fetal tissue is the exact same way that all the state prisons were disposing of fetal tissue.
Right.
Same vendor, same process. It was okay for the state to pay for the state prison to dispose of tissue in this way. It is not okay for Planned Parenthood as a private entity to do the same exact thing with the same exact tissue.
Right. That's what DeWine was trying to allege.
Yes. So we've got these bills. I mean, in all reality, they are absolutely not about fetal tissue at all. They are about restricting access to abortion care, just like all of the other trap laws that we saw out of Texas and everything else. And once again, these have already been ruled unconstitutional in various courts. Indiana in specific, the same bill that they banned the Down syndrome abortions or fetal anomaly abortions, can't remember exactly what their bill said, also restricted fetal tissue. It was an omnibus multi-issue bill. And the fetal tissue part of that bill was also blocked in the Indiana court in the same ruling. Right. So
it's kind of weird how Mike Pence's Indiana, from when he was governor, has basically served to provide Ohio with a clear set of examples on how all of these abortion restrictions are unconstitutional.
Thanks, Mike Pence.
They passed all the laws ahead of us and then had them all blocked ahead of us. So it's like, oh, look at Indiana. Oh, look at Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
So if this bill passes, your options once you obtain a abortion are to cremate the fetal remains or to bury the fetal remains.
Yes.
So this is essentially just another move to create more stigma around having an abortion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's just, I mean, it's the way the bill's written. The woman has the option, or she can opt out of making the decision. But she does have to actively opt out of that.
Yeah, and the onus is on the clinic then.
Yeah, and then the clinic has to dispose of it in one of these two ways, which is completely infeasible because it doesn't actually, there are not processes for cremating the 3 ounces of tissue that come out of a, 8-week abortion.
Right. It would be much more sensible just to allow abortion facilities to use the same methods that like every single hospital in the state uses.
Yes. Mm-hmm. This is biological tissue. It should be handled in the same way as all other biological tissue.
Right.
There's
this is
no
responsible, environmentally sound, ethically moral, all the things you want.
Yeah. Well, the thing is,
That's
they
what
keep talking about how women should have a decision on how their tissue is disposed of. They already do. If a woman today walks into an abortion clinic and says, I want my tissue to be cremated, or I want to bury the fetal remains in a cemetery over my grandmother, or whatever she wanted to do, she can do that today. And they do. I mean, there are a lot of women who have abortions because of fetal anomalies or those kinds of things who do take possession of the remains and dispose of them through cremation or burial if they would want to.
Right.
Forcing that on every woman is really, I mean, they had a person come and testify from a Catholic cemetery who was like, we'll take all the babies. I'll do it all. And it was just like, all these women are going to realize that what they're doing is really killing a baby, and they will realize that they don't want an abortion anymore. I mean, she really did show the true side of this bill. It is not about making sure tissue gets humanely or, correctly disposed of. It's about coercing women out of the decision to have an abortion to increase the stigma and the shame, like Kelley just said.
And here I am thinking, wow, Columbus has way too many cemeteries anyway. I think cemeteries are kind of like immoral anyway, but that's a different conversation.
But that's been sort of the main point behind many of these bills is Republicans say, hey, women should have the option to do this. And while they say women should have the option to do this, they're removing options to do the alternative. They're saying women should be able to raise children with Down syndrome. Yes, they can do that.
They have that option now.
You're making it not an option, but a mandatory situation.
Yes.
This does the same thing with, fetal tissue disposal. They want women to have the option to do, burial cremation. That's fine. They've got the option now. All they have to do is ask for it. Yes. And some women do, and that's fine.
The optics here is like, I feel what they're really going for, because you see these like mock graveyards that pro-lifers tend to make.
Yeah.
And what they want to do is have events at like these actual graveyards. So that's weird.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the original version of the bill actually did have some major privacy concerns of like there were going to be lists of the vendors who were providing these services so that all the anti-choice groups could go and harass them like they did Stericycle. I mean, they stood outside of the CEO of Stericycle's house with, you kill babies signs for weeks and weeks. Right.
There's really no limit to who these people will protest against.
Heck no.
If they found that there was Coke or Pepsi in the vending machine at a clinic, they would go protest Coke or Pepsi.
Planned Parenthood installed a new fence a couple of years, maybe a year ago or something like that. And they continuously harass. Preterm's been doing a bunch of external work on their building. And the harassment that those contractors get on a daily basis from the protesters outside screaming about how they shouldn't work at an abortion clinic and everything else is just ridiculous. I mean, they put things on Facebook, call this fence vendor and tell them to stop putting up the fence at Planned Parenthood.
We have concern that these clinics aren't safe or like up to date enough for these women, but we'll harass anybody who decides to make these clinics better for women.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
So Senate Bill 28, we believe is going to have, or it's been scheduled on Wednesday, January 10th at 9:45 a.m. Senate Government Oversight and Reform. So that'll be the what hearings?
The third hearing.
So that's
all testimony.
All testimony?
Yes.
Including opponents?
Yes. It'll be our first chance.
Okay. So it'll be our side's first chance to testify,
yes.
But then their side will also get to throw in witnesses to like completely destroy any sort of narrative that we may be building.
Yeah. Cool. And also make the
not how it's supposed
hearing
to work.
As long as possible and make everyone annoyed.
And then also possible vote.
Yes. Scheduled for a vote.
So this bill could be on the Senate floor sometime in the month of January.
I think it could be on the. No, I think they canceled session that day. So yeah, probably the next week.
Okay. So the Ohio Senate might be for the second time in 2 months, voting on another unconstitutional bill
Yes.
that's already been blocked in the state of Indiana.
Yes. So
Guess what I'm going to be putting as the first point in my press release.
once again.
Spoiler alert.
Well, and I think this is an interesting connection to the politics of Ohio, too, because now what's going to happen is Mike DeWine's going to have to decide whether, as candidate for governor, he wants to waste thousands and thousands of millions and millions of taxpayer dollars defending these unconstitutional bills. And of course he will, because he's an anti-choice zealot.
Right.
But, like this just shows how much all of these state offices are so critical for, making sure that we still have access to abortion care. So how much more, important voting is in state elections, in those off-year elections like we have next year.
Right. Maybe that's the point behind all of this, is to make John Kasich seem as close to Mike Pence as possible, so that when they both challenge Trump in 2020, people are like, well, one guy doesn't have white hair.
One of them
Only because he dyes it.
One of them doesn't look like a X-Men villain.
Skeletor.
He does kind of look like Skeletor a little bit.
So, Jaime, after all of these anti-abortion bills are passed for this session, because we know they're going to almost, what comes next? What are the bills coming down the pike that are going to happen? What does Janet got for us?
Well, I think we'll continue to see the 6 week and continue to see the pushback. So, we had Kasich's first year, he passed the later term ban, which banned abortion at like 24 weeks. And then we went to 20 weeks. The method ban, which we could also see later this month, bans it around 13 weeks. We've got the 6 week ban. I mean, we keep seeing the pushback. I think the one major thing that we haven't seen in Ohio that other states have been doing is an increasing of the waiting period. We've seen that increase to 48 and even 72 hours in some states. Which is
a completely immoral, horrible restriction to apply to women.
Yeah, and so Ohio has a 24-hour wait with 2 visits required, and a lot of cases you have to see the same doctor, and that can cause rescheduling problems. And some women have to come 3 or 4 times to a clinic before they can actually get access to the procedure here. So expanding that would just make that even worse. And with losing more and more clinics, women are having to travel further and further distances away to get access to care. So, that might be the next thing. I'm sure that the doubles over at the American United
creative
for Life or whatever they are, we'll get more and more creative with the ridiculous bills that they'll pass. The fetal tissue stuff we wouldn't even thought about is on the horizon, before the Planned Parenthood video. So God knows what's going to come next. Right. It really is the answer to that question.
Yay.
What we're looking at is a legislative session that's going to be crazy for a couple of months, but then it'll completely die down around the primary, which is in May. And then we'll probably not do they might come back for a day or 2 in September or October, but they usually don't in election year. So they'll probably leave in May, the first week of May or something like that, and then not come back until lame duck for real.
Right.
And then all bets are off for 6 weeks.
Mainly depending on which party gets elected to the governor's office.
Yeah. If we win, we do win, because that's going to happen, because abortion clinics in Ohio will not survive another 4 years of an anti-choice Republican. They'll try to pass everything.
Their campaign slogan.
Yeah. That they'll try to pass everything. When we switched from Taft to Strickland. Yes. Okay. That was what my brain was saying, but they was saying, no, that's wrong. That's wrong. We were in the State House until 3:00 in the morning the last day of session.
Yeah.
Because they were actually trying to pass Brinkman's total abortion ban bill.
Geez, that's right.
As a Christmas tree ornament. God, I can't speak today.
Nuclear.
Y'all. we're good on the radio today. We speak words good.
Yes.
Why you gotta do a southern accent when you
That was totally wrong. I apologize for that.
Okay, so we could be seeing stuff throughout next year heavily on lame duck.
Yeah.
We might this winter, later this month, potentially see the abortion method ban get hearings.
Yeah.
So again, that's a ban on the most commonly used, safest, method that doctors choose for second trimester abortions, to eliminate that as an option in the state of Ohio. forcing women to less safe procedures or to leave the state for other providers at their own expense.
Yes.
So that, and we've already seen numbers in the state of Michigan just for the past 5 years take off of women leaving from Ohio to go to, these are basically women from Toledo heading to Detroit for procedures because it's getting tougher to get an appointment in Toledo.
Abortion tourism.
Yeah, that's kind of what it is.
That is 100% what it is.
Yeah.
I think I'd rather go on a real vacation, but
So, folks, we'll put a link in the show notes.
To visit my grandma.
We'll put a link in the show notes to email your legislator on both of these bills to let members of the Ohio Senate know, hey, cut it out. These unconstitutional proposals are not what we support. So we've got a lot of events coming up. Before we get to events, I wanted to mention Preterm. We left this off the agenda, but I'm throwing it back in. Preterm has a terrific billboard campaign.
Oh, they do.
We'll put some pictures of their billboards in the show notes. But they've got 16 billboards up all across the greater Cleveland area, talking about
what abortion is.
Yes, what abortion is. Fill in the blank.
Yeah.
A choice, a blessing, a decision.
A good parenting decision, I think, is one of them.
Yeah. Really great campaign.
Yeah.
So
the antis are all really, 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 really upset about it, which means that you did a really good job.
Yes. When I was pulling the news clips today, one of those, just horribly anti-choice blogs had an article talking about Franklin Graham was releasing some sort of statement directly against Preterm's billboards.
You're not even in Ohio. Go away.
He was mad about these billboards.
Me. They're reducing abortion stigma. It should be stigma, stigma, stigma.
That's what he wants.
Yes. Yeah. That's really what all of their statements are. Can't believe they're calling abortion a blessing. It's not a parenting decision. They were all up in arms about it. It's hilarious. But the billboards are fabulous.
Yes.
It's very exciting.
They're great. Okay, so good job, Preterm.
Yeah, you should go to My Abortion, My Life on Facebook and leave them good messages too, because of course the antis are being ridiculous on their Facebook page.
Yes. Link in the show notes. Bunch of events.
Yeah, hitting the ground running.
Yes.
So this Sunday we have Crafternoon. We're gonna be at Holy Craft from 3 to 5, and that'll be fun. We're gonna start planning some pro-choice, some feminist crafting projects. Maybe do some fun, colorful things at the clinics in Columbus, and we'll be a lot more intentional with it. It'll be fun. January 8th, we have our phone bank. It'll be a monthly phone bank every second Monday of the month. Come out to phone bank in Columbus.
Nice.
I'll still have my prize wheel. It makes a very satisfying click.
It does.
January 11th, we have an organizing meeting with Planned Parenthood. That'll be at the Driving Park Library from 6 to 8. So you can come and hang out with me and Sarah, and we'll plan even more things. January 16th, we have the Reproductive Health Happy Hour here in Columbus. That will be at St. James Tavern. That benefits our friends at Women Have Options, Ohio.
Nice.
January 17th, we tentatively have a organizing meeting in Dayton with Planned Parenthood. That hasn't been confirmed yet, but I will let people know when that is ready. And
you said the 17th?
Yes.
That comes with the free screening of the hunting ground.
Prior to the organizing meeting that is tentative, there is a free screening of the hunting ground at the health clinic in Dayton with Planned Parenthood. So you can just get a twofer and hang out for a very long time at the clinic.
Nice.
Yay.
January 20th is just all of the women's marches. There's one in Dayton, there's one in Cleveland, there's one in Cincinnati, there's one in Columbus, there's possibly one in Athens. I don't know yet.
Okay.
The week after that is going to be the week of action in Cincinnati. So there's a lot going on, including a row and grow. What is the name of it?
Grow for Row?
Grow for Row. Sorry. That's a docu-teach event with Planned Parenthood. Cool. There also might be a reproductive health happy hour in Cincinnati that week.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah. And I'm hoping to find out some more information about planning a phone bank in Cincinnati that week. So there's just a lot going on this month.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
At least like on my part. And then Annie has Feminists on the 8th.
Yes. Feminists on the 8th.
And then what else?
You did all of those from memory. I'm really impressed. On January 22nd, Preterm is hosting something called Learn, Listen, and Create. It's a zine making and story sharing event.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it does. And then the last event we wanted to promote is hosted by Trans Ohio. It's a legal name change and gender change clinic in Dayton.
When is that?
On January 31st. It's a Wednesday at 6 p.m.
Cool.
So, that sounds like a terrific event for people who are interested in that. From the description, it's kind of a legal clinic.
Mm-hmm. So you can come in with all your questions. Yeah, all your questions, and people who know the answers to them will be able to answer them.
Right. That's going to be in Dayton. And links for all of these events in the show notes.
And one more just to add.
Yeah, sure.
Is a Toledo happy hour on the 10th. From 7 to 9.
Where?
I don't know that Annie will have to tell us. We'll put it in the show notes.
Okay. We'll figure that one out.
We'll figure that one out, but save the date for now.
Yeah. So if you go to prochoiceohio.org, you can sign up for our emails if you haven't yet. Every Friday, we send out our Friday Femorandum newsletter, which promotes a lot of these events. It's a great way to stay up to date. Check out our Facebook page. Just go to Facebook and search for NARAL Pro-Choice Ohio. Look at the events tab. There's a ton of events on the events tab. That stays more up to date than our website does, and I'm going to be working on that. But
I'll be bothering him about it. So
that's very appropriate. But the Facebook page is like where to go for the latest on all the events to get involved in pro-choice activities in Ohio.
Awesome! Yay!
Okay. We'll see everybody next week.
Bye.
Bye.
You weren't here.